Alright, these are all the analysis tools you will need in your work. Once you've taken time to analyze the market, your next step is pretty straightforward. You log into a load board, search for loads, call brokers, compare prices, negotiate and book. If all of this seemed a bit complicated at a first glance, do not be alarmed. In reality, many carriers will give you very specific parameters on where they want their trucks to go. Analysis is needed for working with carriers who give you the freedom to choose their own routes and who rely on you being a professional who knows how to use the available tools. If at any point of your career you're confused and don't know where to send your truck to make the highest profit, or you're worried about sending a truck somewhere and not being able to get it out of there, go back to your notes from this module and you'll find all the answers. Now let's consider several approaches to load selection. This is a new topic. If you're taking notes, start a new chapter. The first approach is booking hot loads. This approach entails looking for last-minute loads and getting a top rate because of the urgency. Brokers, just like dispatchers, work all day long to make sure that cargo is shipped and that they make money from it. Their goals are much the same as those of the dispatcher, although we're on the opposite teams of the game. The broker needs to sell the load as cheap as possible, and the dispatcher needs to get the highest possible price. This is the main difference between us. But no matter who wins the game and gets the desired rate, the load must be picked up at the appointment time. If the broker fails to sell the load and time is running out, or maybe if somebody booked his load and then cancelled at the last minute, the load becomes hot. At these moments, the broker needs to find a carrier at any cost. And the dispatchers who can determine this will gladly use it and can ask for higher rates. How do you determine a hot load? It's very simple. Call the broker and find out the pickup appointment time. Do this with multiple loads, write down appointment times and monitor the board to see which of those have not been removed from the board over time. If you see that the broker is running out of time and your truck is close by, you found a hot load. Congratulations, you have a huge bargaining advantage and can potentially make good money on this shipment. A lot of smaller carriers use this approach, especially owner-operators who have nowhere to hurry. They're willing to sit and wait for a good opportunity. In single cases, you can make good money on this, but companies who rely on this method too much often lose out sooner or later. They don't build close relationships with brokers, but take advantage of their difficult situation. Moreover, having waited until late, there's always a chance of not finding such a hot load and being left with nothing. Use this approach with care and only if your carrier is on board to play this game. The second approach is looking for dedicated lanes. In essence, dedicated lanes are similar to contract freight. In this case, you identify a broker who has a lane that needs to be shipped repetitively at a certain interval, for example, once a week. We negotiate prices with the broker in advance and then book the shipment for several weeks in advance. Usually, no additional contracts are required for this. The broker just provides rate confirmations for all of our loads. This approach is especially helpful when you need to bring the driver home every weekend or maybe get him out of his home every Monday. In order to find a dedicated lane, you just need to communicate with the broker after a successful delivery and ask them about the possibility of booking the same load up front for the next couple of weeks, months, or even for the whole season. For example, I had a carrier that only wanted to move from Los Angeles, California to Portland, Oregon. There and back, every week. After a while of working with this carrier, I was able to pre-book a dedicated lane that left from Los Angeles to Portland every Monday, and another lane that left from Portland to Los Angeles every Wednesday. This way, I had the whole week booked for the carrier at a stable price for months. I barely had to do any work for this carrier and simply made my commission for organizing this schedule. The third approach we'll consider is called double load or 2-1. This method is often used when the truck is in a bad zone and no matter where we go, we still get a low rate. In this case, we first find a second high-paying load from another zone for another day, and then find a load that will bring us as close to that second one as possible. So in this way, we're booking two loads at once, double load. We first book the second load and then the first one, hence the name 2-1. And the last approach I would like to talk to you about is partial load consolidation. Consolidation of several loads in one trip. Partial loads can be found in the same way as regular full truck loads. On any load board, while searching for loads, we can choose from three options: full, partial, or both. Consolidating partial loads requires high professionalism and it has the potential to increase your earnings per mile, but it can also lead to serious scheduling difficulties. Here are a few rules to keep in mind. The order of loading and unloading is important. Well, if we're talking about flatbeds, it's easier. You can load and unload the cargo from either side of the trailer and it doesn't affect anything as long as the lengths and the widths of the cargo is within acceptable limits. However, in the case of dry vans, reefers, box trucks, the first load that has been loaded into the trailer must be unloaded last, because no one will bother unloading the whole trailer, taking the part they need and then loading the rest of the product back. Therefore, the longest load should be loaded first, so that it can be unloaded last. This will give you the opportunity to pick up and unload other cargo along the way. You have to keep a very close eye on the driver's work schedule. A large number of pickups and drop-offs can greatly affect ELD hours. If pickup and delivery appointments don't combine well, you could lose an extra day due to this partial load consolidation. It's important to count not only the weight but also the space the load takes up. If all the goods are on pallets, it's a little easier. You will know how many pallets fit in your driver's trailer and can estimate how much more you can fit in for extra loading. If you're loading a flatbed, well, it takes skill. After all, the product can be loaded and secured in many different ways. Here you have to work closely with the driver and everything will depend on your teamwork and ingenuity. Okay, let's recap everything we learned so far. In order to make informed load decisions and build route plans, we can utilize multiple tools available to us. Check-in average rates, market trends, load-to-truck ratios. All of this will give us a general idea of what direction to bring the highest profit to our truck. After analyzing the market, we log into our load board and start looking at the real picture. How much are they really paying for the lanes we're looking for? If you find a hot load and your driver is close enough to make it to the pickup, request a high rate. If you're in a bad zone, use the double load technique. Book a high-paying load in another zone and then use any available load to bring the truck closer to that load. After a successful delivery of a good load, be sure to ask the broker about dedicated lane opportunities. And to maximize the profitability of the truck, look for opportunities to consolidate multiple partial loads.